Welcome to section 4.6, Operation with Polynomials and Several Variables. So what I mean by several variables is that you're going to be working with more than one variables. So take a look at this example here. Notice how you have x and y for each term. So meaning that we're going to be working with at least two variables, but mainly with two variables, but be prepared in any event you're going to be working with, say, 3 variables or 4 variables. Now, before we do any type of operation, and what I mean by operation is addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. But the main focus will be addition, subtraction, and multiplication. Now, let's talk about the terms that we have in this given example. So let's talk about the first term. I'm going to underline this. So x to the fourth and y to the third. So the coefficient for this term is -3. The degree of the term is, I'm going to add the exponents together. So 4 plus 3 is 7. Now, let's take a look at the second one. This one right here. So the term is x to the third, y to the third. My coefficient is +6. And then the degree of the term is adding these two exponents together, so it will be 6. Alright. Next is this. So our term is x squared and y to the 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, well, first let me identify. The coefficient of this term is 8. Now the degree of the term, I'm going to add these two exponents, which will be also 8. Alright, lastly is this. So my term is x and y to the 8th power. So my coefficient is -5, and the degree of the term is my invisible 1 plus the 8, which is 9. So we identify the coefficient for each term and the degree of each term simply by adding the exponents together. Now when it says degree of polynomial, we take the highest. So the highest is this one right here. So the degree of the term of 9, that will be the degree of polynomial. So I'm just going to write 9. So again, here we just simply broken down this given example into four terms. And I wrote each term right here with their corresponding coefficient. Degree of term is basically adding the exponents together in each respective term. Degree of polynomial is that you pick the highest. In this case, it's 9. So if you were asked to identify the terms, you would just do so as how I did here. Same thing as coefficient. Degree of term is going to be a bit different from what we did before. When we have multiple variables or several variables, you're just going to combine the exponents together when you're identifying degree of term. For degree of polynomial, is after you identify the degree of each term, you just select the highest exponent, and that's all you have to do. In this example, we have in the first set is 7y to the third minus 10x to the fourth, y to the third, plus 7x squared, y squared, and then in the second set of parentheses, it's 9x squared y squared minus 3y to the third minus 5x y to the fourth. And these two are being added together. So just like in the previous section, I'm going to distribute my plus to everything here. So the second set will not change much. So it's going to be plus 9x squared y squared minus 3y to the third minus 5x y to the fourth. And then the first set, there's nothing in front of the parentheses, so everything in the parentheses right here will stay the same. I'm just going to bring it down and let go of the parentheses. So 7y to the third minus 10x to the fourth y to the third plus 7x squared y squared. Alright, so what we're doing here is we're going to combine like terms. In order to combine like terms, the key thing you have to look for is that when we have multiple variables like these two right here that I'm pointing at, in order to combine these two together, they must have the same exponent. So here, x squared y squared and this x squared y squared, these two can be combined because your x term has the same exact exponent and your y term also has the same exact exponent, and these two are right next to each other. So again, they have to be exactly the same in order to combine the coefficient. So let's look at the first one. 7y to the third. I'm going to look for my y to the third. I actually have another one right here. So 7y to the third minus 3y to the third, it will be 4y to the third. Alright, the next one, negative 10x to the fourth y to the third. So I'm going to look for any terms that has x to the fourth and y to the third. I don't have any, so I'm just going to bring it down. Alright, next is x squared y squared. So I'm going to look for it that has the same term, x squared y squared, in this case right here. So I'm going to combine these two. 7 plus 9, that will be plus 16 x squared y squared. And then last is this term. It's the only term, there's no more x and then y to the fourth, so I'll bring it down. Minus 5x y to the fourth. Alright, so what we're going to do next from this point is we're going to put our terms in order. So when you're having multiple variables, you're going to look at it at ABC order, meaning between x and y. In alphabetical order, we're going to start with the x. So see, we have three. So we have this one, x to the fourth. In the middle is x squared, and then here is x to the invisible 1. So let me write that invisible 1 here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off where the x has the highest exponent. So in this case, this one right here. So negative 10 x to the fourth, y to the third. So negative 10x to the fourth, y to the third. And then I'm going to start off with the second, which is this one right here. 16x squared y squared. So I'm going to write that one. Plus 16x squared y squared. And then I'm going to write this one right here. So negative 5x to the 1 power y to the fourth, and then I'm going to write plus 4y to the third. So usually when it's y to the third, that means that it's going to be separate from these terms. So usually we're going to put these where y is by itself last, and if it was x by itself, it would start off first. But when it's with multiple variables combined, I usually look at the x first and then the y second. So it's okay with the y's that is in different order, but mainly focus on the first letter, x. Now, it's okay for this one. I'm not going to be very stressed about, or you should say be very stressed about putting these in order, as long as you do your best. Mainly focus on the first letter. When it's combined with multiple variables, you look at the first letter and alphabetical order and then put it in terms of descending order of exponents. When it's y by itself, you put it last. When it's x by itself, you put it first, in alphabetical order. So had this been a by itself, you would put that first, and then had it been c by itself, you put that last. Again, just in alphabetical order. In this example, now we actually have two set of parentheses, and we're going to be subtracting. So what I'm going to do is same thing as before. Distribute my minus. So again, notice how I have in some of the terms multiple variables, x and y's, also here, x and y's. This one is x by itself, and this one also x by itself. Now, when you see that you're subtracting between the two sets of parentheses, I'm going to distribute my minus, or negative 1. So my negative 1 times negative 9x to the fifth will be positive 9x to the fifth. negative 1 times negative 8x to the third y squared will be plus 8x to the third y squared. And then negative 1 times positive 8x to the fourth y to the fifth would be negative or minus 8x to the fourth y to the fifth. And then from the first set of parentheses, I have nothing in the front, so I'm going to bring down everything and let go of the parentheses. So this will be 6x to the fourth y to the fifth minus 9x y to the fourth plus 6x to the fifth. Alright, from there we're going to combine like terms. So my first one is I'm going to look for any other terms that has x to the fourth y to the fifth. In this case I do, right here. So 6x to the fourth y to the fifth minus 8x to the fourth y to the fifth, it will be negative 2x to the fourth y to the fifth. Alright, so let's look for x, y to the fourth. I don't have any more, so I'm just going to bring it down. So negative 9 x, y to the fourth. Put this one 2 lines. Alright, third is x to the fifth. I do have another one just right here, so I'm going to combine them. So positive 6 with positive 9 plus 15 x to the fifth. Last is x to the third y squared. I don't have any more, so I'm just going to bring it down. So plus 8 x to the third y squared. Alright, I finished combining like terms. Next, I'm going to put them in order. So first, I have a x by itself, so I'm actually going to put that one first. So 15 x to the fifth. Alright, now we're going to talk about how we have 3 terms with multiple variables. So I'm going to look in alphabetical order, meaning I'm going to look at the x first, then compare it with the y. So x to the fourth, x to the third, and x to the 1 power. So I'm going to put this one first. Minus 2x to the fourth, y to the fifth. And then this one next, because that comes after x to the fourth. So plus 8x to the third, y squared. And then minus 9x, y to the fourth. And then that was pretty much it. So this is our final answer. So again, since I had an x by itself, in terms of x and y, in alphabetical order, x goes first. So I'll put x to the that's by itself first, and then I look at the ones with multiple variables, so meaning x and y. I put according to the exponent on x. So since x to the fourth is the highest, I'll put that next. X to the third, so I'll put that following this. And then lastly, I'll put where it says x to the 1 power, y to the fourth. And this is our final answer.